What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another part of my Beginner's Guide to Tattooing series. And the first part was about designing, and we went through and drew out this little spear head, broken off spearhead. And the part I'm going to be working on today is, now that that's done, is going into stenciling. So one of the things you need to do when you're stenciling, if you can see, let me get it pulled up, is when you are stenciling, when you need to make a stencil out of a design, especially if it's a digital design like this, is to go in and you need to go around your shaded spots and draw a checked line, a dotted line, to show where your shading is going to be, and then leave it as just an outline with the dotted lines to show where your shading is going to be at. So now that I've already done that, I'll show you guys the different stencil machines I've used and go from there. Alright, this is the first stencil machine that I got when I first started. It's the one I've used for most of my time tattooing and practicing tattooing. It's like, I would consider it the older style of doing it, besides just straight up drawing it onto the, like tracing it onto the transfer paper or the stencil paper. Is how this one works is you would take a physical copy of the machine, put it through this gap right here, and then take a piece of stencil paper and filter it through this gap back here, up through here, and then close it down on that, so that when you push the copy button, it will pull the design down through here, out through here, and up through here. Your stencil will come out. And it's fairly reliable. Like, it does it fine. To me, it just takes a little bit of time to actually do it. It takes a little bit to get it prepared and stuff, but now there's that, I'll move on to the second machine type. Now, this is my newer one that I got. It was more of a experimental buy to see what it's like, but the way that one like this works is it is a Bluetooth stencil machine. This one is a smaller one. As you can see, it's more made for, say, A4 size paper, so relatively smaller designs, which I do think I can still fit my spear design on it. This one might end up being the one that I use because for the design that I'm going to be printing off today, because the advantage I'd say this one has over the other machine I have. The other one is bigger and can do bigger pieces, but this one I like specifically because it is Bluetooth, and so that means I can just hook up to it from my iPad, and then on an app that connects to this machine, it'll then just print. I'll put a piece, like an A4 size piece of transfer paper in here, like channel it through this way, and it'll print off the design that I send to it. And to me, a machine like this would be quicker to get, or quicker to use, but I would need a bigger one, like for most of my pieces. And there's a third type that I want to talk about that I don't have yet, but I would like to get at some time, which is essentially taking a normal printer. I say normal in the sense that it is a tanked printer, where it has the tanks of ink in them rather than just like cartridges that you would normally put in a inkjet printer. Say like I'm trying to think of the different brands. I think Epson EcoTank might be one of them. And normally they come empty. It comes with ink you can fill them with, but they come empty. And what you can do with those is you can fill them with stencil fluid, and put pieces of transfer paper without any of the other pieces like stencil paper has through it, and then just print off your design that way. I think a lot of shops do it that way, which is very nice. It's what I eventually want, but I don't have yet. So I do believe this will be the piece I'm working with today. So I'll see if I can't get one printed off for you. Alright, now that I've got it kind of set up, I've gotten my design marked out with stencil lines, and now I'm gonna see if I can't get one to print off on here. So what you need to do is go into the Faux Memo app and go to tattoo editing, go to the design you want, and then from there, if you need to move it around, add anything like transfer lines or anything like that, then you can like apply it or like change it in any way you can, but I think mine's good for the moment. So what you want to do then is go up to the top and push print, and it'll tell you what to do. It'll tell you with your piece to then take the little piece off from underneath it, which I've already done. It'll tell you to then take the back of it where it's perforated on the very back and to rip it off so that it can go to the transfer sheet underneath. And then what you need to do is open the machine, put this underneath these two columns, line it up just so, and then close it back down, push OK, and then adjust it to where you think it needs to be, and then just push print and it will start printing. And hopefully, if done correctly, it'll come out with a tattoo design. Which, quite honestly, what I could do is I could try and make it a little bit bigger, but if we want to then take it and then open it up, you then have your design there. Let me get it ripped off. And there it is, right there. And now that I've gotten it printed off, I'm going to get the tattoo skin over here so that I can show you how I apply it. Now that I got it cut out, generally when you make a design, you kind of want to trim it down as much as you can so you have a more general idea of the shape it's going to be on the body, and it helps with placement and stuff. But so what I like to do after getting it cut down like this is I'll take it to my skin and on a practice skin and kind of hold it in different places to see where I think it would fit best. And personally, I do think it might fit fairly well down here or right here. So I think I might do it right here. So what I like to do with that, let me get it moved over first. Now that I've gotten it moved over, you can see that there's a little bit of like leftover ink and stuff from previous designs on this. So what I do like to do when I'm applying a tattoo, and I suggest doing this anyway whenever you do it, is to take a mixture of alcohol and water and spray your practice sheet down. Specifically for a practice sheet, don't do this on real skin. Don't spray down real skin with alcohol when you're about to tattoo it. But just try and make sure that the spot you're gonna tattoo is pretty clean and doesn't have too much stuff in it. And then after so, and making sure it's dried, then you want to apply whatever you're using to make the stencil stick. And for me, Uh, Generally, when I am doing an actual piece, like on human skin, I will use something like Stencil stuff. Most people use a product like this, if not just exactly this, and it works fine. On real skin, it's just a gel, it's a gel-like liquid that you like squeeze. Most of the time, you'd squeeze it into your glove and then rub it onto them and make sure it's not too thick as well when applying it. But what I have found, and what I'm sure a lot of people have found when tattooing on fake skin, is it doesn't really transfer that well using stencil stuff onto fake skin for whatever reason. So what I like to use when putting a stencil on fake skin is I like to use Speed Stick. More specifically this brand, just the brand that has a not gel type, but like an actual stick to it, so that you can take it and rub it like that. So what I like to do is in the spot that I know I'm going to be tattooing, and a little bit on other spots as well, is I like to take it and rub it back and forth a few times to make sure it's got a good coating, but not to do too much so that it doesn't basically bleed out and make a weird stencil. So now that I've put that on, I will take my design, I will line it up and then lay it down on my skin, rub it down a little bit to make sure it's got a good connection. What I like to do, now that it's down, I let it sit for a moment sometimes to make sure that, especially if it's a slightly thinner design, to let it actually bleed around a bit. But once that's done, I will then take the corner of it and then peel it up, and you have your stencil on. And after I do that, there's a couple things I do. So the way that I do it is most of the time, it depends on when I'm doing a design on practice skin, is I will either, if I'm doing it the day of I put it on, I will take a hairdryer and blow it over it. Again, this stuff is only to do for stencils on fake skin. I would not recommend using a hairdryer on somebody's real skin when trying to make a stencil stick, or if you're doing it, say, another day. Like for me, because a lot of my practices happen like once a week, what I like to do is the night before I will put the design on, let it dry overnight, and then the next day I will start tattooing it. Hopefully you've learned something, different tips that I've learned from other people, or just from trial and error myself, which this is actually a decent one from that. I will say, what I was using it is a stencil, transfer papers that come with that little printer, and I don't think they're the best quality, but based off of this, they work fairly well. In the next part, I will show you how I set up my tattoo station. And then after that, we'll get into tattooing this piece. Alright, so if you've liked the video or you feel like you've learned something, I ask that you like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.